ready? All right. So to recap, there's some things that we've learned about already. We've been talking about solids and gases and stuff, and you guys are really smart about that. We talked about how you can take a liquid, and if you heat it up, then it turns into a gas, and the gas expands. But today we're going to even go one step further. There's another way that you can make gases, and it's not by eating burritos. Who said that?
I think that is one way.
Okay, there's another way that you can make gas, and it's a chemical reaction. Now, if you recall, I like doing this just because so, we're going to put gas into this balloon by, well, we have a little pump, right? And as we pump, then we go into the balloon, right? Now, what was that?
And then it pops.
And then it pops? Oh, this is your pump. Here, you just hold on to that just a second. So we pump the air into it, but we want to create gas another way, right? Instead of pumping air into it, instead of heating up a liquid that then turns into gas, we're going to do a chemical reaction. We're going to talk about chemical reactions that can produce gases. Now, how does that work? Anybody know? Well, that's okay. I've got a story for you. Who wants a story? Who wants a story? That's what I'm talking about. Once upon a time, all stories have to start out with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was acetic acid. And acetic acid, he was not a very happy, friendly guy. Acetic acid is also known as vinegar, which is a very common word. But he went by the name of acetic acid. And if you look here, you add a bunch of H's, which stand for hydrogens. C stands for carbon, and O's stand for oxygen. So that's all he was made up of, right? Acetic acid. But acetic acid, he was not a very nice guy. He did not play well with others. In fact, he was, well, an acid, and he was kind of a weak acid, but he liked to take things away from other people. If they were on the playground and they were playing with the ball, he'd go over and take their ball. If they were on the playground and they were climbing up the slide or ready to go down the slide, he'd get in the way and he'd take their turn instead. If he saw somebody and they had an extra hydrogen, he'd go over there and take it from them. He was not very nice. He was kind of stingy. He would take things from others. Did not play well with others. Alright, hold on to acetic acid. But it gets worse. It gets worse because there was sodium bicarbonate. Now sodium bicarbonate, while acetic acid is a liquid, sodium bicarbonate is a solid, also known as baking soda. And he was a grumpy character because he didn't share. He had extras. He wouldn't share his ball with others. If he was reading a book, he wouldn't share his book with others. If he had an extra oxygen, do you think he'd give it up? No! He'd keep it for himself. Some people might even say he was a little basic. Whereas acetic acid, he was kind of acidic. In fact, some people said that there was a problem because his pH was 2 sizes too small. Kind of like the Grinch. Oh, what are we gonna do? It gets even worse. I know this is scary. It gets even scary because even sadder. Because sodium bicarbonate, he told CO2 that I won't be your friend if you don't stay with me. But CO2 wanted to go free. CO2 was a gas and wanted a free spirit. He wanted to fly. But he said, if you leave me, I won't be your best friend. You won't be friends with me if you leave. So that made CO2 very sad, and he had to stay with sodium bicarbonate. Then, one day, sodium bicarbonate meets up with acetic acid. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. And CO2 has this great idea. Hey, why don't you guys get together? Why don't you, instead of hoarding all your toys, why don't you learn to share? And acetic acid, you don't have to take, just ask. Then people will be your friends. So they got together and they said, hey, I'll trade you carbon for one of your hydrogen and oxygens. And he said, that's a great idea. And they got together and they became friends. And here's the best part. They traded. A chemical reaction happened. Oh. And they became water and sodium acetate. Now water, everybody loves water. Water has all kinds of friends. Water shares with everybody. And sodium acetate, it's just a salt. Nice and simple, still a solid, still a liquid. But the best part was that they produced carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide got to go free. Now water and salt, they could play together nicely as salt water. And when the sun came up and dried up the water, it floated free to play with carbon dioxide. And they all lived happily ever after.